Hello, everybody. So we need to move on. So please take your chairs if you are not participating in the session. Um, Abel, I know he's very famous, so he's gonna take your questions back. So we need to move to the Chile panel. And as you have seen, we have countries representing what's going on in Latin America in terms of artificial intelligence. So now is the time for Chile. And in that regard, it's my pleasure to introduce the moderator, which is Fernanda Soza, which is the executive director of Chile-Massachusetts Alliance. And she helped to organize this panel. Please, Fernanda, join me. And please welcome her on stage.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. Today, I invite all the panelists. Please come here in this order. Jordi here, Patricia, Patricio, the third one, Werner, and Julio. Today, we will talk about, well, first I want to introduce myself. I am Fernanda Soza, the Executive Director at Chile Mas. We are a nonprofit organization located here in Massachusetts that we foster innovation and collaborations between Chile and Massachusetts, especially in the areas of technology and energy. Today, we will talk about artificial intelligence in Chile, especially. We know that as Latin American countries, we have a lot of challenges: social, economic, political, and even climate change challenges. Those challenges are sometimes overwhelming our agendas. We cannot deny also that we have another problems. As Patricia was saying the other day, we had, all we know, like a kind of social earthquake starting last October. And we had to know what are the challenges and opportunities that we can look around on those kind of social earthquakes too. We as Chilean, and I think as all Latin American people, are very good at trying to find those opportunities. One good example is this social earthquake. This week, or a couple of days ago, The Economist just released the Democracy Index of 2019. And in that index, Chile appears for the first time in their history as a full democracy. And all that changes because of this social protest that shows that there was a lot of social participation in Chile. So there is an opportunity also here. So today we will talk about how artificial intelligence could be a way of starting this new development in Chile in some areas that we have a strong capacities, like in what is related with health and retail. We have today a very distinguished panel here. We will start with individual presentations. I will present each of the panelists. 10 minutes they can present, and then we will open the conversation. The first one that we will present here is Jordi Albo. Jordi is a man deeply passionate about improving people's quality of life through technology. If you only talk a couple of minutes with Jordi, you will completely feel that passion. His main topic of interest are embodied social agents, emotion, artificial intelligence, cloud computing platforms, health tech, and ed tech. Jordi has done so many things that sometimes it's difficult to summarize. He has worked in the academia and done research in Spain, the Netherlands, the US, Latin America, and Asia. Has created technology-based companies and worked in international big companies like NTT Data. Now he decided to join a big corporation, a talented group at Lighthouse, Disruptive Innovation Group, to empower worldwide institutions to succeed and disrupt the technology-based business model. Jordi has also received important awards, like the 2012 local Alan Turing Award, and has been recognized with his papers at some important robots and human interactive communication symposiums. Well, with further ado, let's hear about what Jordi can tell us about his researches in Panama and Chile, and how can Latin America could develop be a leader in research and innovation in the fields of health and AR robotics.
Okay, thank you, Fernanda, for this very kind introduction. Thank you, Omar, and all the organization committee for letting me be here presenting. And I think that it's a great conference and a great place, because what the example that I'm going to talk about, it's the perfect ecosystem. It's the MIT ecosystem. Even when I'm going to show a case that it's done, it's close to here, that it's also between Tufts University and different institutions. So as Fernanda said, let's see if I can go back. Yes. My passion has been always try to see how we can assist people. So not to substitute the people, but augment the capacity of all these people in education and health. One of the things that match with the topic that we are discussing here these days, it's like if you look to the research, requires of three crucial pillars that are very good. And one is this talented and interconnected workforce that we can accomplish if like multiple people from multiple countries, like it's happening here, exist. Then it's what it's very challenging for a lot of the countries represented here, that it's get adequate and dependable resources. And of course, what it's needed is to achieve world-class basic research. It's to get in all the different domains. So pluridisciplinarity, it's needed. A very big challenge for LATAM countries and other countries in Africa or south of Europe are that it's a low investment in research, and probably a lot of you are already complaining about that. And with this low level of research, there's a low level of scientific contributions. And this, it ends with a lack of innovation, and it's decreasing the opportunity to become leaders of tomorrow, but it's what we want to achieve. Of course, I put all the references, so you cannot blame on me for saying this. It's someone else who said that. So the project that I'm going to talk about, it's a project that it's trying to accomplish this. So it's creating a multidisciplinarity group. It's a project that I was honored to lead as a principal investigator starting in 2014 at Tufts University at the Center for Engineering Education and Outreach. It was involving my former institution, that was La Salle in Barcelona. Of course, we need to know all the knowledge from the medical doctors from the Children's Hospital of Barcelona. And we were collaborating with our main competitor, that's the Polytechnic University of Catalonia. But that was not enough. It's like my lab was targeting children between 7 and 14, and we wanted also to get children younger, so 14 to 7. So we started to do things also together with the other lab at Tufts. And of course, I moved from Spain to the US. And I was the principal investigator, so I need a lawyer in my team. And that lawyer came from the University of Bologna. And in that relation, it's like we were trying to accomplish solutions, and that was before jumping to the big company, that it's like it's trying to solve, we want to make the society better, so we need to achieve everywhere. And I was very lucky, first of all, to find people from Chile. My mother is from Chile. And that's how we start to work together with Leonardo Mariaga from the Universidad Técnica de Santa María, and with Carolina Yáñez from the Universidad de Chile and the San Borja Arriaran. So it's like people from completely different domains. And then also, of course, with the people from Panama, from the Center Caspan, Alan Sullivan, that is kind of the caregiver with children with autism, and the Technological University of Panama, the UTP. And what we did is create a kind of context that was working everywhere. So it was a cloud robotics platform, agnostic of the robot platform. So each robot, it was like a kind of puppet. So we create a gateway, and artificial agent was remote controlling the puppet. But because it was remote control with a higher priority, the caregiver or the facilitator was able to overcome the different actions, and that was being used to train the robot. People are not ready to have full autonomous systems, and they need like a kind of semi-autonomous systems to be more accepted. So we thought that that was a good strategy to be accepted, and it was easy to regulate in some cases. And what is beautiful about this picture is like you can see the different children. They were trying to improve their social skills, but also how to solve problems. And we can see children from Boston, but we have seen children from Panama and children from Chile. And you can see on the right the picture in Chile with Leonardo and Carolina. In the right bottom, you can see the students from the UTP, Nage, the last one. Different kinds of robots, because not all products can arrive to every place. And one of the ways to get like easy feedback to the robot, it was not using super complicated image processing, and especially audio, because it was like very, very, very difficult. So and when I say we, I mean the students from Panama, they create a web-based interface that was able to code the robot, and by monitoring the clickings and everything, we understood what children were doing, and equalizing the different levels using the AI. And then we publish in a very top conference and journal papers. So this is an INFAR, the top conference related to autism. And that was thanks to work with medical doctors and clinicians. And the graphs are a little bit small, but then we can discuss them, because it's like, otherwise I'm going to be out of time. But what they show, it's a clear difference about meaningful conversations, about reducing tangible conversations, about reducing asking for help, being more autonomous. And it's between the first and the last session. And overall, what is happening, and the last graph, it's like children, also a little bit triggered by the novel effect, but children were attending more often to the session. So more often attending to the therapy sessions, better therapy. But that's also good. And in the case of Panama, we work with children with severe autism, that they were very small, and over 83% of the students, they increase a lot the engagement, what it means that it's more effective. Over 15% of the students, they improve the cause and effect understanding and social skills, what it's really great. I would like to highlight, just to end my presentation, about that. It's like, this is a summary of some of the publications that we got. And if you go to the first slide, and we remember what we were saying about how difficult it's without investment to get these publications in references in a collaborative environment, it's much easier to have publications led by people from Chile or led by people from Panama in different conferences. And also, just to end, I would like to highlight that it's like what it's very important, and we have been discussing this here, it's to approach all the ethical aspects and the legal aspects. So with Edward Fosk, guy that it's not here, but definitely you need to meet at some point in your life, we published one paper with, I'll Care About You, Said the Robot, looking about all these ethical and legal framework concerns, but then also looking to the other fact about when you are doing research and you want to innovate in your country, it's taking into account that you need to patent that technology, and you need to understand that that technology can be commercialized at a certain point. So we also focus on that, and then lawyers are also very important to achieve that. It's very important. Legal departments used to use their knowledge to reduce risk and prevent risk, but if they are involved in the research and in the design, they can contribute a lot and make things much better. And with this, I will end my presentation. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we will hear about Patricia Fuentes. She's an agricultural engineering from Universidad, Chile, an MBA from Universidad Mayor and Georgetown University. And she has been working the last couple of years at Corfo, the Agency of Development of Chile. And she's my boss there. we work a lot together at Corfo. She's a real passionate about many different things related with technology, but especially related with agriculture and climate change. So I will let Patricia now explain what are the real challenges that we have as a country related with the instruments that our Agency of Development can offer related with that, and especially related with this clear problem that we have as a country as one of the most vulnerable countries related with climate change. So please, Patricia.
Okay, I'm going to sign up. I want to see you all if you are ready for some question. Well, thanks for the invitation. It's, to me, it's very special because I used to live here, so I'm coming back after 15 years to US. I was visiting scientists at the US Department of Agriculture, so it's a really pleasure to be here again. Well, it's so hard to resume. It's a lot of information. We are a governmental agency, the Chilean Economy Development Agency, so then we can exchange your business card. But I'm going to try to exchange and share with you some message about what are we doing as a country and how the AI can help, and I'm sure, yes, indeed, to help to fight the effects of climate change that is already here. So, okay, well, I'm sure you know Chile is a small, tiny, beautiful country and a great economy. Don't ask me about the social earthquake, please, because it has been too much hard, but still we are the best and first only South American economy by the OECD. We are right here, right there, so far away from here. And we call it as a Latin American hub. So, and this is because it's so important to have this panel and share with you. Well, I'm sure you have tried. This is our best and main export: mines, salmon, forests, wines, fruits. I'm sure you have tried. You have to try a Chilean wine. So, okay. And I love this picture. So we already have a lot of initiative. So get the start from the optimist. And this is the main observatory in the north of Atacama Desert. It's a worldwide project. It's ALMA. And also Corfo, through some programs, is already supported. And in fact, this observatory was the main, they took the first picture of the black hole last year. So it was made right there. But why we are talking about climate change now? I can talk for hours. It's my favorite subject. Okay, many issues, so sad. It's, okay, we have some extreme event. Our country, because we are at the end of the South Hemisphere, we are more affected from another ones, or the tropical countries has another effect. So it's a complicated situation. But to me, and because I'm an agronomist, I always have to remember that in the 20 and 50, we'll be 10 billion population. And let me tell you, I have no idea how we are going to feed to all of them. We need a 75% of more food production. And if you are not vegan, at least I'm carnivore, we will need 50% of meat production. So the numbers are important. And this is why we have to take this new challenge. And for our institution and myself, the problems are opportunity, a business opportunity, a technological development opportunities. These are the three main forward guidelines that we have as a government. In fact, Julio from the Ministry of Economy can correct myself. These are the main homework. Climate change and sustainability. All the population, we are all getting a little more wisdom, to do not say older. And the Revolution 4.0. So the artificial intelligence pretty much is relating in the two main. Well, our country is a very entertainment natural lab. And these pictures is, I hope you like it, but please start thinking the huge amount of opportunities to make technological development. We have the driest desert in the world, more than the Sahara or the Mexico. The clearest sky I have to make my marketing of my country. So the more seismic condition, and really are seismic, so we are not getting too afraid of anything, the highest solar potential. And this is so important because all the development for cell photovoltaics has been really different because the things that are made in China, it's not useful for us because the radiation is so high and it's unique. So now we have a new development area to see, oh, we have a different challenge. We have the highest lithium production. I'm going to share with you some new programs, and the biggest metallic mining district on the world. And yes, we are taking advantages of these singularities on Natural Lab, but putting some digital technological and make an industry low carbon and friendly environment. And how we are fighting the climate change. It was really hard to make a summary. Let me tell you, I'm part of many of the technical intergovernmental groups, but I think this is important to share with you. We declare the neutral carbon by 2050, and I guess we are in the right way. So we will have a climate change law. It will be the first in South America by the 2022, and we hope that the whole institutional thing, it will be done by the 2050. Also, because when you make this whole politics in issues like climate change, we need a technological transfer strategy. Many of you are from the academia or scientists and know better than I am. So we are working so hard from last year. Immediately closure of the coal power plants. It will be done everything in the 2040. 100% of the public transportation will be electromobile. So, and we are working really hard in that area. Our matrix, renewable energy, especially the solar energy, 70% of the total matrix will be from renewable source by the 2050, and we already are done with the 20% that we make a commitment with the international agencies. We are the first country to work with green bonds, green taxes, green everything, green credits. We are a very green country. So, and also, all this climate change works is handled in a master national program that we call, this is the signature, but it's all the institutions, private, public, academia, we are all working in this. It's a document you can download from your Google. And also, because we are part of the Paris Agreement, we have a lot of commitment, and we are trying to higher our ambition more than 1.50 Celsius degrees in our national NDC by the 2030. Well, a lot of public, private efforts, a small country, but we are a very passionate people, so I'm going to tell you the detail, but if you can read some of the things, the main important is the National Communication Book, that when you are part of the Paris Agreement, as a country, you have to inform, it's a voluntary thing, to the United Nations Climate Change Commission every 5 years. So this is our book like this. Okay, and what is our humble contribution? It was really hard, again, make a summary, so I'm going to make a highlight in some programs. But because we are the Economic Development Agency, our focus is technology, technology, and more technology. So in the climate change, even if you are agree or not with me, it's already here, but from the last 40 years. So at that time, it was a climate change. We called the ozone layer depletion. I don't know you remember that when we say, oh, the hole in the ozone. Okay, some interesting things that we are just launched last year. The first Clean Tech Institute in Chile is a huge investment focusing on solar energy, low emission mining, and lithium advanced materials. You can find all this information in our webpage, and if you have some question, you can just ask. Also, we have some new oceanic aquaculture programs. Chile has more than 4,000 kilometers of a nice and wild Pacific Ocean, but we haven't studied yet. So let's see what the things are coming. The huge investment in clear energies. Oh, that's my Spanglish. Okay. This is the first solar concentration plant. It's called Cerro Dominador. It's in the north. Also, it's a beautiful infrastructure. But it's the first, and also for electric generation. So we are making some interesting things. This is my favorite. It's my second favorite. We work like more than 1 year. The first Circular Economy Innovation Technological Center in the north. Why? If you follow the photovoltaic cell example, okay, we have a huge investment in photovoltaic fuels, but when they just gone in 5 years, and what are you going to do with your residue? Oh, we have to develop some research to recycle or whatever do with your cell phone panels. So second life and recycle of solar panel and lithium batteries. We have the strong mining production, new materials, new business, and smart manufacturing. So also it's a huge investment, 10 years programs. And that's my favorite. It's not as much money, but it's the first Technological Innovation Consortium for Water Resource. Chile has been through probably the biggest drought in the last 30 years or 20 years. However, we are one of the 5 countries with more water resource, something we are not doing right. But we are putting our efforts in innovation, technological innovation, and new water resource in the whole central and north area of the country. All these are collaborative programs, academia, private, R&D, and other entities, national and international. So you are just very welcome if you can participate. And I'm finished. Also, we have more than 31 centers, national and international, for innovation and technological development. As you can see, one of yours is UC Davis. UC Davis, one of our center of excellence. Seaside from Australia, from Hofer from Germany. We have probably the best knowledge and capacities, and we are making this international collaboration. And it's working, so. Well, technological transfer, hubs. Okay, and after all this resume, what can we do, or what can the AI can help us in the climate change things? Chile is more focused in the adaptation more than the mitigation. Okay, when I received this invitation, it wasn't any resume in our institution in all the projects that we have been handling in the last year. So it was a kind of a study and refresh. And we found that interesting in the last 10 years or more, that the projects submitted to financial support has been raised from 18 to more than 300. To me, it was a surprise. And when I make the screening, many of these projects are focusing in this. I'm not going to read all of them. You are more specialist than myself. But the interest, especially from younger students and professional and technological entrepreneur, definitely is rising. And just a summary, I cannot share more information because this is still confidential, but we have some outstanding projects on AI and climate change. Most of them are for prediction models, machine learning application. Our country is an agriculture country and mining. but more agriculture. So we have to have special varieties and a special rootstock if we can continue our production. And also, we have to be ready for all these extreme climate events, and we have a lot, let me tell you. And this data is important. By the 2020, and we are not so far, we will have more than 75 million of agriculture-connected devices. So that will be an average of more than 4 million data points every day by the 2050. So I'm sure that you are the specialists, you have a lot of things to work. And just a summary, yes, it is a good tool to predict and handle this climate change event. This is probably the most important. First, you have to have more tools for farmers and producers so they can make a better decision makings. Pests and disease. The climate change has doubled the cycle of most of the pests in crops. So the agrochemicals are very happy, but we have to work. Well, and I guess that's it. Thanks for your attention.
Well, now we have the pleasure to introduce Patricio Rodriguez. He's a professor at Universidad de Chile. He's a civil industrial engineer, a Master of Engineer and PhD in computer science from Universidad Católica de Chile. And he was also the founder and CEO of Edu Innova, a multidisciplinary and R&D center of educational technology at Catholic University of Chile. And he developed many projects related with that. He has more than 20 years of experience in the educational field, and actually is an assistant professor, as I said, at the Center for Advanced Research in Education at the Universidad de Chile. He was the winner of the first prize in the contest New Debates, Data and for Development, organized by the Inter-American Development Bank. And now he's developing an algorithm to predict students dropout for the Ministry of Education in Chile. So he learned, and he loves to explain a lot about education and how can artificial intelligence help us with all those stuff. Please, Patricio.
Thank you very much, Fernanda. Thank you very much to the organization for being here. I want to talk about how can use machine learning for addressing social problems, and I want to share with you some reflection about that. First of all, we have to take a lot of consideration to make machine learning algorithms useful for decision makers, but it's better have this consideration or address this challenge before deploying an algorithm that, like Abel says in his presentation there, because develop machine learning algorithm is sometimes the easy part of the problem. So here's some thoughts. First, I will try to conceptualize the problems in the easy problem and the hard problems. The easy problems are problems that they are constrained because the data sets come from a single government agency or organization or for public data, do not involve personal sensitive information, and final users do not need to know how the algorithm works. And because that, the models have relatively easy maintenance. For example, if we want to use machine learning models to discover informal settlements, we can use satellite images to recognize these patterns, and we need to train an algorithm to recognize these informal housings, and we need to basically provide to the algorithms how this informal housing looks like from space. And in the case of Chile, these informal settlements are different in different locations in the country because the climate. In the north look like this, in the center look like this, and in the south like this. So this is a very easy problem from the machine learning point of view, and very straightforward in the implementation and the public policy application. But in the hard problems point of view, we need to combine data sets from different organizations. We need to clean and impute a lot of data. It can involve sensitive data to make this algorithm works, to train them and to use them, in both cases. And the final user needs to open the black box algorithm because she or he will be probably accountable for her decisions. And finally, because we want to intervene in the problem, it requires continuous maintenance. So we have to provide new feedback to the data to organize what's going on. An example. For example, in student dropout have different factors, including gender and age. In this graph, we can see that the main risk of dropping out is being male, and the dropping out is produced at the 9th grade at 15 years old, but there are also territorial factors. And these territorial factors, for example, we are looking at the access to effective school in Santiago de Chile. Is not the access to effective school is not evenly distributed in the map. So there is some zones where the student has less access to effective schools, and there are zones of the city where they have higher access to the effective school. And this is a reflection because the general inequity, because the education system not operating in vacuum. So if we see here in the map the inequity at the block level, we can see that it's very consistent with the inequity of access to effective school. So when we stop, can we address all the dimensions involved in the solution? Because if we need to, if the inequity at block level is a factor for the social exclusion, that means the dropout, we can change from the education the social inequity in the city. So we have to be very careful what variables to include or not, because we can doesn't affect in public policy their considerations. So where to start? First, to try to address social problems from public sector, we will try to identify opportunities to develop quick winners or to fail quickly to start again, based in that's easy problems. Use your own data, create virtuous cycles showing results, and enroll people and other institutions to share data and generate new applications. Because we can see in this picture, all these cloud points are the service in the Chilean government. And every connection, there is an agreement to share this data. And at the end of every one of these points, there is a lawyer. So if you want to talk or exchange that data, you have to pass for this lawyer. So you need to enroll the people, what data you do need to do your work, and you need to do your homework, because if you haven't resolved the problem of the interoperability, you will face this problem. In second place, you need to keep an eye in success story to identify and systematize return on investment indicators. For example, the labor agency improved efficacy in inspection. That's inspection that found violation to the labor code from 26% to 42%. And that's the way we can measure how effective were the implementation of machine learning in the public sector. And finally, we try to transform hard problems in easy problems as possible. In the case of the student dropouts, we can try to first classify what are or characterize the student that drop out, to try to get insight about the problem before developing the machine learning algorithm. So to conclude, in the long term, to successfully address social problems with artificial intelligence, we need to be strongly grounded in a data-driven government. So to produce, store, curate, share, and reuse the data in public sector. And finally, obviously, you should believe in evidence as an engine for decision-making and public policy development and assessment. And to conclude, as an statistician, an American statistician, Edward Deming said, in God we trust, but all others must bring data. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Patricio. Well, now we have Werner Creixell. Werner has a bachelor degree and a master in telecommunications from Federico Santa Maria University in Chile. And he has got a doctoral degree in information science and technology from the University of Tokyo in 2006. He's a faculty member at Federico Santa Maria University, and now he's a visiting assistant professor at Texas A&M. He's also a visiting researcher at the Center of Spatial Information Science at the University of Tokyo, and a collaborator of the Group of Complex Systems at the Polytechnic University of Madrid. Today, Werner will talk. He has many research interests like machine learning and complex networks applied to different areas such as images, telecommunication networks, metabolic networks, and biological processes. And now he will be talking about teaching AI. I think it's also a very interesting topic, and how he had done in the university classroom a new way of doing that. Please, Werner.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind invitation. As you can see, I am a university professor, and I'm suffering for it. So it's not that I am sad. It's not that I'm lacking passion for what I'm doing. It's that my voice is failing. So what I want to talk is, when we started this seminar, I think, I don't remember, one person from MIT came with the phrase, "We have the best students of the world." How do you feel about that? Well, I don't believe that. I don't believe it because they have just 11,000. So the math doesn't make sense, right? You know? So what I want to talk is what we do with the talent we have. And believe me, we have plenty of that. We are full of talent. How we can untap that talent. So back, I think at the beginning of 2000, Twitter started as an application of SMS. So at that time, I was doing the PhD in Japan, and I said, oh, this is really cool. I'm going to install Twitter in my phone, and I'm going to try it out. And I did make an effort, try to understand Twitter. After a month of using it, I said, this makes no sense. This thing has no future. So my judgment was completely wrong. So when I moved to academia, and I said, I'm going to be in front of a bunch of students, many of them smarter than I am. Many of them more motivated than I am. Many of them, they are seeing the world in a better way than I'm doing it. So how can I come and say this is right and this is wrong? Right? So, and then I'm teaching artificial intelligence, such a powerful tool that can be applied almost anywhere you can think of, right? So how do you teach that? I'm teaching that to engineers. So please forgive me those that are not engineers. And engineers are like this. So I've been told. I've been told in the University in Denmark, they were told me, engineers are like dogs. What they mean? It means they're very good at solving problems. So you throw them a bone, and they go and fetch it. So you throw them present a problem, and they go to solve the problem. Okay, that's good. That's one of our, characteristics. But the problem is, you don't see that like, an entrepreneur. You don't see that image of, someone which is changing the world. So I don't like that, and I don't believe it either. So what I did, I get out of their way. So we educators stand on the way of our students' talent. It's like people talking at the door. When you want to get out or get in. So what I did, I pair students. I don't teach. So they see me as a lazy professor. I don't teach. They do teach, so they have to prepare a class with the math and with the code in GitHub, so the other students can reutilize the code. And a project. And they have to propose the project. I'm not the one telling you have to do this, you have to do that. So they have to come up with their own projects. So, and develop their creativity. So this is a paper, Barriers to Creativity in Engineering Education, which is a wonderful reading that I do recommend you guys to have a look, even if you're not engineers. So they have these 10 maxims, which is keep an open mind. Ambiguity is good. Engineers, we panic with ambiguity. We don't like it at all. I mean, uncertainty and ambiguity, deal with those. It's very important for you to develop in your career as a professional, as an entrepreneur, as a person. The world is really random. It's not certain. An iterative process that includes idea iteration. So they come up with an initial idea of the project, and I say, okay, right, but you have to come back and forth and think again and propose it again. And improve it in the way. Reward for creativity. You have to reward it as a structure. Lead by example. I'm not a good example, but maybe you can find other good examples of creative people in your society, everywhere. So that could be inspiring. Learn to fail. They have to be able to fail. You don't have to punish them for that. You have to encourage risk-taking, search for multiple answers, and internal motivation and ownership for learning. They say that students who has internal motivation, they become the ownership for learning. And I think it's all the way around. When you own your project, you have motivated instantaneously. And I've seen it. So the first two maxims are concerned with the thought process the student has to develop. And that are thought processes that are not common in engineering education. The 3 and 8, iterative process and search for multiple answers, is part of the work process they have to implement. The 4, 6, and 7, reward for creativity, learning to fail, encouraging risk, is that with the structure we have to provide. And lead by example, internal motivation, and ownership for learning, that is what inspire and motivate the students. Okay, so this is the 10 maxims that I apply every time I meet with them, doing nothing, so according to them. They have to come up with original projects. And this is one example. If you can play the video, please. And we had to click on it, I think. Just click on the image? Is that? Oh, it's not working. Okay.
Oops.
Well, then I'm going to explain it. This bad image is what in a timber processing industry. They're taking these images and they want to know the surface, how big is the trunk. So the images are very bad quality. So this group of students, they develop a software based on the unit to make the segmentation of that area, and they can estimate the volume of the trunk, even though in these very bad conditions. The software, they create a script in order to an operator, manually, make the image to train the unit for segmentation. So it worked very well, and the company that provides the images is buying the software. So you have people that is not knowledgeable of AI at the beginning of the semester. At the end of the semester, you have people with a product and with money involved. I'm not involved in that. And the Technology Transfer Office, which I was the head of, just supported students with the legal for the software licensing and making money. So the other challenge is that AI is moving so fast. I mean, there are papers with excellent works every week. Last December, I was at NeurIPS in Vancouver, and that is like I don't know if you have been there, but if you have been in one of those conferences, what is the top conferences in AI currently, it's like a rock concert. It's crowded. Overwhelmed. So as an instructor, it's overwhelming the pace this thing is moving. So it's very hard to keep up. So basically, I gave up. I cannot. Right? So the students have to. They choose which area they want to specialize. Natural language processing, speech recognition, image generation, etc. And this paper came out. It was very famous because they made a talk or move Mona Lisa and other famous paintings. It's made by the Samsung Research Institute in Russia, and it came out in April last year. So we started the semester in March. So we were 1 month already in the semester when this paper came out. And when a group of students say, we want to replicate that result. Sure? Yeah, sure. Okay, come on. Go ahead. And they don't know they can do it. So they do. Can you try this one? Please? Could you please try with this one if we have better luck? This is what they come up with. It's the same technology running behind. And the difference is that it was made just one GPU. We have it, the NVIDIA 280 Ti, I think, which is basically a gamer PC. And the guys in Samsung, they had like one server with 8 GPU running simultaneously, and then train their models using 1 week of time. So we didn't have the muscle for doing that. But with what we have, this result is pretty good and pretty close to what they have. That person doesn't exist. They use a database of different famous people in Hollywood, and they create that video. So the talent is there. And you have to trust them. That's it. Thank you.
Well, and the final panelist today is Julio Pertuze. Julio is an advisor for the Minister of Economy in Chile, and he was part of the group called the Economy of the Future. He's in charge of defining policies and programs aimed at inserting Chile in the fourth industrial revolution. He was national advisor to the Science and Cooperation, change.
CONICET.
Huh?
CONICET.
CONICET, and member of the Council of Telecommunications and a Standard Council in Chile. He holds a master degree in technology and policy and a PhD in system engineering, both from MIT. He's a local here. prior joining to the government, he was a faculty at the School of Engineering of Universidad Católica de Chile and the director of the Master in Innovation program, where his main research areas are technology management and science, technology, and innovation policies. Today, Julio will talk about the public policies opportunities and interesting projects inside the government of Chile. Please, Julio.
Thank you very much, Fernanda. I'll stand up. It's good to be home. I would like to speak about 3 things today. First, an overview of what are the opportunities that we see at the Ministry of Economy for artificial intelligence. Second, what are we doing as a government to seize and act upon those opportunities. And finally, some cool projects that we're spearheading at the Ministry of Economy. So yes, there's an enormous potential to unleash more growth for the country. It's not the only thing, but remember I'm from the Ministry of Economy, so growth is an important factor. It's projected that we can grow at least 1% more of our GDP if we start incorporating artificial intelligence to improve productivity. And Chile is well poised to act upon that opportunity that technology is delivering us. For example, we have higher penetration of mobile internet. We have, I think, 22 million cell phones for a 17 million population inhabitants. Internet users, broadband connectivity. We have been attracting data centers, so all the hardware seems to be in place. Google, for example, has a direct link from San Francisco going all the way to Valparaiso, connecting their data centers. They have 2 data centers located in Santiago. We are wiring the whole country with fiber optics. So I think that the infrastructure is in place. Human capital, fortunately, we have a good university system. There aren't many researchers as compared to OECD standards in terms of the number of researchers in the total populations. However, the researchers that we have, they're highly productive. And our university system is well ranked within Latin America. And finally, with respect of data, the government is undergoing a modernization process, so we're hoping to deliver more public data sets in the future, and I would like to speak about that by the end of my talk. So when we started prospecting, and this is something that we did last year at the Ministry of Economy, we're starting thinking, okay, why don't we develop some sort of roadmap for developing a national artificial intelligence strategy? And we started asking different ministries, okay, have you any projects related to artificial intelligence? And we were overwhelmed to find that there were already more than 30 plus initiatives stemming bottom up from different ministries, more than 12 ministries. Some noteworthy projects include focusing more direct student scholarships and aid for sending students to study abroad, masters and PhDs in artificial intelligence, digital languages at the Ministry of Economy, improving social programs delivery at the Ministry of Social Development, open data portals at the Ministry of the Secretary of the Presidency, digital talent at the Ministry of Labor and the Ministry of Finance, and finally, even intelligent sports at the Ministry of Sports. Great, so bottom up, there was a lot of things going on. So we asked the president, should we have a national strategy? And he said, okay, try to deliver a strategy based on 3 pillars. First, what are the enabling factors that could allow us as a country with our singularities, our small population, but our richness in different resources to try to make an impact in this field? Second, how we can develop artificial intelligence and apply it for practical purposes. And finally, what are the ethics, regulatory aspects, and social and economic impacts that this agenda or this strategy might have? So those are the 3 pillars, and more important than the final document that we're going to create, it's the process. So it's a participatory process. We have an expert steering committee made from faculty and people from industry and academia that are helping us shape what are the main topics that we should be discussing in roundtables that we are conducting all over the country, the 16 regions. The ministry that's in charge of making this strategy, it's the Ministry of Science and Technology. And we also have an intergovernmental committee, so we're trying to weave networks within government, more than 9 ministries and 2 agencies involved. During January and May of this year, 2020, we are conducting those roundtables. You can self-select and you can create your own table if you want to discuss that with a specific field that we have not, for example, mapped. During March and May, there are regional workshops, so public consultation between May and June, and finally, we hope to deliver our first national AI strategy by July this year. Now, what are we doing here? What are we doing at the Ministry of Economy? And these are some projects that I would love to speak about, to talk about, because they speak about the potential of artificial intelligence in different areas that can make your economy grow. So, for example, we're using artificial intelligence to cut red tape. So what's the problem? Well, Chile ranks one of the highest countries in the OECD in terms of regulatory complexity. We have more than 300,000 regulations, which is great news for lawyers, not that great news for the economy. The average age of a decree, for example, it's about 18 years. Of a law, it's about 60 years. And we have more than 1,000 laws that are from the 1900s. Some of them are pretty useful and important, but we still, for example, in Chile, it's unlawful to bully someone that has stepped down from a duel. No, we don't have duels anymore. Of course, we're a civilized country, but it's still unlawful to bully someone. So that's a law, for example, that wasn't, that's still, you could practice it. And new laws have been added over time. So if you see on the right-hand hand side of the chart, the number of laws and decrees has increased more or less exponentially, which talks about the creativity of our lawmakers and the complexity that has been involved in recent years. Okay, so how can we cut red tape using artificial intelligence? Well, we're using clustering and unsupervised learning algorithms to map different laws, their decrees, and their regulations, and we built a network trying to analyze laws from a network perspective. So great. Based on this, we can find similarities between different regulations. So if we know that we're changing something in this law or this decree, it should also affect all these others. But also it gives us opportunity to perhaps prune some of the things that are disconnected, that are satellites that are no longer used. And going over 300,000 laws and decrees by hand, it's time consuming. This helps us to focus and narrow our efforts to where we can find opportunities to improve regulation and diminish red tape. And we're working that with an AI company in Canada. And also it's a project that's supported by the Inter-American Development Bank. Another project that we're that's interesting from the perspective of the Ministry of Economy, it's, okay, how can you help SMEs to be more competitive in a global market? So if you think about SMEs, what's the problem? They represent 99% of the firms, yet only 14% of the sales. So they are being gobbled up by this perhaps big giants or large retail chains. Good that they exist, but how can small and medium enterprises that they generate the bulk of the employment in Chile be more competitive? So what we're creating is an AI-powered virtual assistant that can help people within neighborhoods find local products. So we're trying to, and then this is something that the opportunity is also fueled by the recent social revolts, in terms that people are leaning towards buying from small companies, small and medium shops, but you perhaps don't know what's their product offering. And if you go to the local neighborhood store, if you're not familiar with that, probably that person has a lot of things that they can offer, but probably that business is not well digitalized. They don't have an online catalog. They don't have any way of delivering that to your door. So, well, this assistant can pinpoint you to what are the stores that are closest to you, and you can chat directly with the owner to see whether the product that you want, they might have it in stock. And if so, well, you can make some sort of transaction, either going there or perhaps we're partnering with some delivery companies to send that project right to you. So basically what we're trying to achieve here is we're trying to weave local economic networks within the neighborhoods. So it's going back to capitalism perhaps as Adam Smith knew it. And finally, last but not least, this is a more strategic and long-sighted project. And it's about a data observatory foundation that we're creating. So how can a small country with a small population compete with giants in terms of perhaps the US? We don't have the industry that the US has. Or perhaps China, we don't have the population that China has. So how can we leverage our strengths? And what we lack in industry and what we lack in terms of population, well, we have an opportunity, a great opportunity delivered by astronomy. And why astronomy? Because 70% of all the observation capacity of the world is located in Chile. Why in Chile? Because we have a desert, no clouds, more observation time, mountaintops, laminar flows from the Pacific Ocean. It's great places. It's a singularity. It's a natural laboratory for space observation, and we have been attracting in the order of $6 billion of high-tech equipment. And astronomy, it's a field that generates a lot of data. So I hope this works. Yes, so if you think about how much the current observatories are producing, it's about 1 petabyte. The new ones, the LSST, the CCAT, will produce about as many data as videos are uploaded per year to YouTube. And if you think about the big companies, Facebook and Google, well, they're really tiny if you compare to the amount of data that the square kilometer array is going to produce per year, which is about 6.5 exabytes. So astronomy, it's a big data science that could provide us some sort of opportunity to create capabilities, critical mass, human capital, in order to have a better standing in this field. Especially if you think about how many students of astronomy there are in Chile. So currently, and these are the number of astronomers, we have approximately 1,000 people involved in astronomy, only 250, a quarter of them, they are faculty, 750 students. So it's quite skewed, not only, and if you look at the data, astronomers are the people that pursue a PhD in astronomy are the first to drop out of their field because it's quite skewed. So there are quite a few faculty positions for all the amount of students that that we are training as a country. But those people that are studying astronomy have capabilities to deliver impact in other economic sectors or in other areas. Some studies say that astronomy as a field, in terms of the techniques and the technologies that they have been developing, they're about 5 to 10 years ahead of what currently industry in Chile is doing. That's great news if you're an astronomy student. You can see the American Scientist's special issue, Big Data Takes on the Universe. Great, the data, it's the new oil, oh, fantastic. And if you think about the activities an astronomer does, for example, analysis, exploration and visualization of data, acquisition and generation of data, and finally having some sort of governance and access, well, those are capabilities that are easily redeployable to other areas. For example, mining, precision agriculture, smart cities, climate change, healthcare, and perhaps commerce. Those are all industries in which we have an important stake, and we can become even more competitive if we create this connection to allow spillovers to stem from science, a science-driven activity in order to impact our broader economy. And with that, I hope I have showed just a small glance of what we're doing as a government, and also specifically at the Ministry of Economy of Chile. Thank you.
Thank you, Julio. Thank you very much. It was really interesting to see all the different panelists with different topics. As a lawyer, I want to make a question. because I'm obviously biased on that part. And also here in the audience, we have people from the judicial power from Chile, a minister of the Supreme Court from Chile. And many of you talk about the ethical problems related with AI, and also the problems and the complexity of relating with lawyers. Patricio, Jordi, Julio talked about those topics. I will open the conversation to see how you can create public policies and how you can really help in solving those ethical problems that AI obviously will produce and is producing right now. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I maybe can start and then the other speakers can correct me. So I think that it's important to expose this discussion, especially to the people. And something that I didn't mention that, but it's a work done also by another Chilean, that it's Cesar Hidalgo, and I was honored to collaborate in that project. It's like we just ask people, and by asking people, we obtain the information about how they perceive AI, and from that we were able to construct if it was ethical correct or not ethical correct. And in the project that I mentioned before, and with Edward, what we were targeting in that case, it's based on the regulations and the frameworks, for example, from the European Union and the human rights, and try to create an assessment tool. So every single design we were assessing, it's like if it was matching with all the rights that they need to accomplish.
Great. I don't know, Julio?
Sure, just a couple of comments. I stressed that when creating a national strategy, the important was not necessarily the final document, but the process, because the process builds legitimacy. The process is what allows us to confront different issues, visions, and ethical concerns that we might have in terms of how can we use a technology, any technology, in particular artificial intelligence, for the greater good. So I think that in that process, and this is something that pops out in every table that we see it, in all the different communities that we meet, the ethical part, it's something that's really important. Some ministries in Chile, in particular the Ministry of Social Development, has been working on those ethical standards for more than 2 years. Because if you want to have some sort of predictive assessment of school dropouts, which is an important goal, well, you need to know that you're not incorrectly classifying, that there's some sort of process, and that needs to be open to public scrutiny. So that's something that we have in the radar, and I think that the process will solve some of those concerns. And I love lawyers, just to close.
Great. Another question related with Werner and Patricio, with education. When you were talking about having a classroom where as a professor you are teaching through projects. I think there is a lot to do related. I think we really have a very good talent in Chile, but we have a lot of problems sometimes with the professor and the way they are teaching, and how to really foster creativity in the classroom, and how to change that not only at the level of the university, but really in the early education. So maybe Patricio and Werner can talk about a little.
I will say my opinion. I think not only in Chile. Absolutely. Talent is everywhere. I mean, everywhere. We can see it in these conferences, people from different parts of Latin America. We see brilliant people talking, and has been very enriching to listen to them. So humility is one part. We have in academia, in many places, not only in academia, to deal with egos. So you have to be humble enough to listen to other people, really listen and value what they have to contribute. I think that's the first step. I wouldn't say it's a thing of age. I wouldn't, think it's something related to methodology. It's something more related to personality. I mean, just as a human being. These all titles and things that sounds really nice. If you believe it, I think you are starting to think that you're different, and you're not. Basically, you're not. So put yourself at the level of the student to ease communication, for them to telling you when you're being wrong. I mean, the student I like the most are those that teach me back. Those, for me, are the good students, not the guys with good grades. Because I made the test, yes. So that means you think like I do. So what's the deal? The real problems in society are more challenging than what we can ever put on a test. So I try to put them in that situation and working with real data and working in real projects on challenging things. I push them in order to accomplish and go beyond that I can accomplish. So how to put that into other professors, I don't have the answer. I don't know. I try to do as much as I can. I talk to them. I was invited to Texas A&M because this same reason. So with the colleagues there, we are working on that. And I present, and this is as much as I can do.
And related with the previous speech that was very good, what about the presence of women in the classroom related with?
We have a couple of women's, which last semester, which was wonderful because for 15 students, 2 women is great for me. Because usually our 15 students and no women.
Wow.
It is a huge gender imbalance. And justified, as I say, talent is everywhere. I mean, it's not a matter of passport. It's not a matter of gender. It's not a matter of race. It's just talent, and you see it when it's in front of you. So I have 2 talented students. They made a project of, they're electrical engineers, so they were working in small grids, microgrids, and how to predict consumption and contribution from using self-generation energy. And we got through collaboration with colleagues from electrical engineering department. They provide the data, and they make a wonderful project too. It's just not as visual as the one I was presenting.
I don't know, Patricio.
Yes, I want to say something about teaching and teachers. The problem with teachers is that they are trapped in classrooms because they're born in the classroom as a student when they are in primary and secondary education. They are live in the classroom when they teach, and they die in the classroom because they never have the opportunity to go outside what is happening in the universities or in the industry, and to have feedback about the real world what is happening. So I think that artificial intelligence and our innovation are a wonderful opportunity to open their minds, because they had a lot of work. It's not because they don't want to, but we have to give them opportunities to have patented or have some kind of instrument they can go out of the classroom and see what is happening in the world.
Great. And one final question, and then we will leave like a couple of minutes to a couple of questions for the audience. But I want to ask Patricia a question about climate change that you mentioned. We have a huge problem with water scarcity in Chile right now. Do you know any project or really related, hopefully, with artificial intelligence that could help in those areas?
Yeah. Well, it's working now. More than a project is, and in fact, I have been listening very carefully because you are the specialist. So more than a question to me is an invitation for you guys, because our country, and I forgot that Chile is one of the most vulnerable countries in front of the climate change. We have 7 of the 9 factors according to the IPCC. This is the Intergovernmental Program of Climate Change by the United Nations. So we are super vulnerable. We have everything from earthquake to drought, flooding, wherever you want, you are going to find in our country. So again, more than troubles is opportunities to do what? To do technological entrepreneur, we have to make more commercial scaling up, generate the education and the technological development, because we have a really good talent and R&D staff. However, more than 85% of these technological entrepreneurs, they just finish in a paper, and we need to make these technologies applying in our condition. In the case of the water, because it's probably you turn on the television, is the water now, so we are praying that it will be another dry winter time in Chile again. But the point is, yes, I can see that there's some good alternative for AI application, especially when I try to share the extreme events. It's not just the hurricane and no, our diet as a human depend of just 30% of the crops species. So, and when you think about the climate change, the 2 Celsius degree rise, if we are not doing anything about it, we are just cutting 50% of the yield. So again, how we are going to feed to that population? And if we continue with this disagreement globally in some term, just prepare, because we are going to start burning from the 2100. The expectation is that the temperature will rise more than 6.7 Celsius degree. So the water is the hot highlight. But basically, all the machine learning, the software development, we have some nice project going. We need to develop new varieties. Again, many of the Latin American countries, where I work in some of those, we are agricultural countries. And the climate change has moved the traditional areas. Have you been in Chile, probably? See? No? Okay, good. It's a long piece of land, so the main wine production, we are close to lunch, so the wine is produced in the central area of the country. Now with the climate change, because it's drying from the north, and it's super drying from the north, but now we have a new area in the south, close to Magallanes, close to Antarctic. So again, yes, there is possibility, and just an invitation, please start thinking to make business with us.
Thank you. Well, and we only have a few minutes, but I want to open the floor to any of you if you want to make a question.
It's here. Enrique Díaz-Cantón from Argentina. Thank you very much. Outstanding presentations. Julio, I was wondering, I visit Chile on an early basis for many years since now, and I noticed the people to be more and more annoyed every year. Would you think an AI, an artificial intelligence-based algorithm, could detect those subtle deviations and react accordingly to prevent a thing like we have seen last year? I was thinking in social media or something like that.
So I'm an engineer, not a sociologist or a psychologist. But what you're addressing, can AI be a solution, where you can also think to what extent AI has been a problem or has been a cause in terms of the polarization that you can see in the social media, how we communicate. So I don't think that the solution for the crisis that we are facing right now, it's something that can be solved just by the use of technology. It's more of an institutional and political debate that needs to take hold. And of course, technology can aid, But the bigger questions that we need to face and we need to ask, and how are we going to live together, it's something that's not mediated necessarily by technology.
Hi, my name is Manuel Arrabure. I'm a professor at Bucknell University in Pennsylvania. My question is also for Julio. Thanks for your presentation. And you suggested that the implementation of AI could lead to 1% GDP growth, perhaps. Could you break that down and exactly tell us how is that possible and what are the criteria you're using to kind of make that kind of projection?
Sure. I was just referring to an IDB report. And in some of the slides, it was not only the potential that we had, it was 1% of the GDP, but on the right-hand side of that slide, you could see that that was increases in productivity, something going into commerce and the creation of new businesses. So it was about 63 billion US dollars, and it was more or less evenly distributed within those three factors. But for further references, go and check the IDB report. That's quite thorough.
It's María.
Hi, my name is Mario Lara. I am the Chief Innovation Officer at the Chilean Judiciary. As you probably know, Chilean Judiciary, we have a full electronic management of our cases from the new entries through the sentence and everything in between. And a full relationship through electronic applications to the citizens in our country, and the interconnection with the entire private sector about the justice system. So actually, we have applied some machine learning techniques to classify some documents and actually provide the judge some propose about the solve of small issues. The question is, how do you visualize going to raise the discussion, the social discussion about the use of this kind of technology to actually solve some issues, maybe the most repetitive one, the most smaller one, and leave the judges the most complex cases? Thanks.
Oh. Are you addressing the question to?
Okay, can I?
Werner, yeah, Werner. Okay,
I think it has to be very careful when you take the human out of the loop. You know that an automatic algorithm can come out many times with good answers, but in your case, you cannot allow one bad answer, right? That can have serious implications in someone's life. So it's a very delicate issue. So, and the machine is not going to know or value what it's saying, what is the answer is providing. You know, there is this saying what comes from data mining, that using data mining, you can find that all the patients in the maternity are women, right? Which is a correct answer, a completely useless one. So you have to be careful with that kind of outcome. It has to be really, really good tested. I mean,
yes. Maybe you can do something simpler than that. You have the history or records, how many times a judge have to work in a specific case. So you can predict what is the time that a judge can use for a new case and try to schedule the new cases based on the predicted time they will use to turn. So you can do a schedule for the different judges assigning the projects and balance assigning the cases, and you have to balance where is the workload of every judge. It's because it could be more simple than that, and you don't have to remove the human from the equation.
Just to complement a little bit, I think that your question has profound implications in terms of how we see a new technology, artificial intelligence, are affecting our daily life, our work. And at the end, there was always a fear that we're going to get automized. But that's not necessarily the case. What's only true is that the nature of the work that we're doing will be transformed. And if you have more data, if you're able to analyze more previous sentences, that means that, well, you need to exercise better judgment in terms of what the algorithm or what that system is telling you. So at the end, it's not that the judges are being substituted, is that they're changing the way they work thanks that they have artificial intelligence that can help them better perform their work. And that's true for judges, but for any other profession out here.
Yeah. We will finish with Jordi.
Yeah, if I can add something to what all of you have said. It's like, I think that it's like when you are trying to solve problems for the society, you also need to address society. So it's very important to understand what society perceives about situations. And not talking only with the experts, because sometimes the experts are not so very experts. So when we ran the study with Cesar, we found a lot of surprises in that study. And I think that it's very important. Of course, it's very dangerous because you cannot control the bias. The bias also exists with the professor. So when you teach students, you are biasing the information to the student. But it's the same with the AI. And I think that it's like, and also people's perception evolves. So what you run a study this year, it doesn't going to work in 2 years. So we know that we have been done up to now. It's in 2 years, it's going to be out of date. And it's like, so I think that it's very important to have a system to see it's like what people perceive about that. And also how you can ask people so they can understand how they can perceive the use of AI in the different domains.
Well, I want to thank you all for being here with amazing presentations, and please give applause.